My name's Sarah Maloy and I run Shop Zero. So we're a refill shop in Nottingham city centre.
What's a common misconception people have about sustainability or your work?
I think around zero waste shops, I think people think that it's going to be more expensive. And there are some things in the store that might be, but then often they're things that are going to last a really long time and things that aren't going to damage the planet. Because what's kind of happened in our society is that we've adopted things that are just throwaway. And even if we're told things are recyclable, when we put them in our recycling bin, that doesn't mean that those things, those items, that materials will be made into something else. So some things last a really long time. They might be a bit more expensive to make because the person who's made them has been properly paid, but then those things will last longer. So over time, they can still be good value. Um, People often think that food is more expensive, and generally it isn't necessarily. Um, if there's a food that the supermarkets can buy in loads and loads of bulk and hardly charge the grower or the maker something, then yeah, food in the supermarkets will be cheaper. But really, as consumers, we're not paying the true price for things because basically what's happened is the fact that we're damaging the planet hasn't been factored into lots of prices of stuff. And as we know, we hear on the news that kind of making us more, getting rid of carbon from our economy and our lives is going to cost money because we just haven't thought about it in the first place. So when you kind of come in here, we have thought about it already. So that's kind of quite impactful. But also often when you bring things in like a jar and fill your things into the jar, you can go, well, actually, I only want a small amount. I've got a recipe. Can I have like 50 grams of something? And I'll go, yeah, of course you can. And then things are often cheaper. So often people live on their own who don't want to buy like big bags of stuff or big multi-packs of things, which the supermarkets often push. You can just buy one of something or a small amount of something, and things often work out cheaper. And definitely the really good quality liquid refills, like your washing liquids, shampoos and conditioners, for anything that's comparable, it's considerably cheaper.
What initially inspired you to get involved in sustainability?
So my kind of background, so I'm a Nottinghamshire person. So I was born in North Notts and I was born in Edwinstowe, which is a village which is very close to Sherwood Forest. And when I was being brought up in the 70s, I was extremely lucky now, thinking about what young people experience, in that I could like wander freely in that forest and I could see the nature, the plants, the animals, just be kind of part of that. And that kind of really clued me into the fact that we are not separate from nature, we are all nature. And my mum was a biology teacher and she taught me a lot about the planet and about ecology. So I went on to university to study biology. And I just kind of love that because that's about us as human beings, as well as, the planet, that we have everything we need from our planet. Everything we get is from the planet. And we kind of forget this. And it's like so important to remember. And I then went on to study a PhD in water pollution. And then I worked in sustainability for a number of years, kind of working on community projects with people in local government and, in their communities, allotments, healthy living projects, lots of different things. Then I was a primary teacher after that. And then I've always been interested in sustainability anyway, it kind of like just flows through my life. And I got a book called Zero Waste Home by B. Johnson. And it was very much about simplifying and kind of going back to a bit more basic, kind of simple way of life. And basic, I mean, in a wholesome, kind of good kind of way. And then I started looking around, going, well, hey, I've got all these plastic containers and they're just all being allegedly recycled, which we know they probably aren't. But look at all this plastic waste we see in our streets. Look at the plastic waste we see in our rivers. And then Blue Planet came along with David Attenborough. Look at all this plastic waste that's in our oceans. What can I kind of do to make an impact? And I started looking for food that I could put in my own containers. Couldn't find anything like that. And then me and a friend kind of joined together and started doing a market where we took food and people brought the containers refilled into it. And it kind of all grew from there, really. And I think other people wanted this. So this business only kind of exists because other people want to do the same thing. So it's not like a vanity project for me or anything. It's more around what do people want, but also what can I show them that are alternatives to this kind of throwaway culture which is developed and this kind of consumerist culture that we're all part of, and to say there are actually alternatives and for people to see where they actually have power. Because I think in society at the moment, there's so much going on, so many hard, difficult things are happening, and we are often made to feel that we are powerless. And in fact, I think the choices we can make, particularly in how we spend our money and where we spend our money, can make a really big difference. And I think it's important for us to know this. And it's important for us all to know that if we join together collectively, we can do things. And I think that's a really important message, because I think often we are told that, oh, just you can't do this, you can't do that. But, even just a simple act of buying a compostable sponge rather than a plastic one, that is in ways a disruptive act, and it's kind of like an anti-capitalist kind of act as well. Sorry to get political, but all of this is politics with a small p, and how we spend our money is important, and we can make choices. So I kind of guess I want to show people that you can buy things that the people who've made them haven't been harmed. They're getting good wages and things, that we don't have to buy into like a fast fashion kind of approach for things, that we can do things in a different way. And this kind of shop and why I run my business is kind of part of all of that bigger picture as well.
What is a project or achievement you're most proud of, and why?
I suppose like running the shop and keeping it going, really. And even though I'm saying that, it wouldn't be going if people weren't here, there does still need to be a lot of work behind the scenes to check out the different products, see where they come from, to try and minimise the packaging, to try and work with people who maybe will take their packaging back, and like in a closed loop circular economy kind of approach. There's kind of a lot that goes on. So I guess I do feel proud that, as a collectively we've achieved things, but also that, my experience and knowledge is being used in a positive way to impact not just other people's lives, but like, to improve our planet as well, and show there are different ways we can do things. I always say to people, because apparently there's like 12 kind of corporations, and so we're all trying to make a difference. There's billions of people on the planet, whatever. But if they just legislated for these 12 companies, then the world would just improve. And that's like crazy when you think that. But we can still, we need to do this like bottom up thing collectively to push back.
What advice would you give young people who want to get into sustainability?
Don't feel too overwhelmed, because things are overwhelming in life anyway. So don't feel guilty. Just choose some simple things that you can do. And if it's just one thing for like a month or 2 or 3, that's fine. So maybe you might think about like refilling like your hand wash bottle or something like that. And then when you've done that and you're kind of in a little habit of that, do something else. And just do it all gradually, and don't feel guilty, because I think generally when we have knowledge, that can be a bit scary, and we can see ourselves fall off the wagon with stuff and kind of go, I'm not doing that anymore now, and kind of just throw the whole thing in. But it doesn't have to be like that, because no one's really watching us. We're all kind of here to help each other and to, do what we can do. And I think with like sustainability, it's not one size fits all, because there's different things we might get interested in. So someone might get into fast fashion, for example, and think, hey, I'm on a charity shop now, I'm not going to buy anything new. Or, someone might go, hey, I'm really into sorting my bathroom out at home, and I'm not going to have a plastic sponge, I'm not going to have one of those plastic loofah things anymore. Or someone might say, well, I've got kids, it's really hard, can I just maybe even give them, some healthier snacks? It could just be simple things. I don't want anyone to ever feel excluded or to feel that things aren't for them, because there will always be a way that you can do something and feel comfortable doing that. And any guilt and shame that comes along, we say bye to that. We're not going to do that.